Yo, what's up with it, man? It's your boy Gilly, man. Jalen. Hey, and we talking about some shit today, man. There's a lot of stuff I wanna, cover, but right now I just wanna cover something that I seen in particular, man, that I really feel like stood out to me, man. And the fact that it's very hypocritical of how the Western world wants us to see ourselves or wants the world to be seen. You know what I'm saying? Right now, it's a video I seen. It's from this one content creator, and I haven't never really ran across this stuff before. But man, it was something about her argument about Islam, man, that made me just think about how we look at Western culture and how, in particular, we look at white Western culture. So we're gonna look at it, man. We're gonna check it out, man. It's a quick little live, real quick. After that, man, y'all can check me out on my family Trigger Man Tell 'em TV, man. We're gonna be going live, you know what I'm saying? 10:50. So let's go. Oh yeah, and by the way, her name is Ada, you know what I'm saying? Y'all go and subscribe and check her out, man. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and get to it.
No, I'm against blanket generalizations, and I still am. But when it comes to Islamist terror, the constant not all Muslims defense, especially after attacks carried out in the name of Islam, is no longer sufficient. It's no longer reassuring. In the times we're living in, repeating it doesn't adequately address the problem we are now facing. Have a look at this clip with me.
Alaikum. Peace to you all. My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. I am here to ask you a simple question. I know that we portray Islam and all Muslims as bad, but there's 1.8 billion Muslim followers of Islam. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here. But my question is, how can we fight an ideological war with weapons? How can we ever end this war? The jihadist ideology that you talk about, it's an ideology. How can you ever win this thing if you don't address it ideologically?
Great question. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad you brought that up because it gives us an opportunity to answer. What I find so amazing is since the beginning of this panel, which we are here about Benghazi attack against our people, not one person mentioned Muslims. We are here against Islam, or we're launching war against Muslims. We are here to discuss how 4 Americans died and what our government is doing. We were not here to bash Muslims. You were the one who brought up the issue about most Muslims, not us. And since you brought it up, allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%, according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. That is as big of the United States. So why should we worry about the radical 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful, yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died, almost 14 million in concentration camps, 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took 19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. So for all our powers of reasons and us talking about moderate and peaceful Muslims, I'm glad you're here. But where are the others speaking out? And since you are the only Muslim representative,
So we are at a point where terror attacks in the West are no longer rare and no longer surprising. That is sad and a very scary place to be. It's nearly Christmas. We've just had the Australian terror attack, and there are people wondering if any other Christmas markets across Europe might be targeted. This is completely unacceptable. And the more annoying thing for me is that when these attacks happen, there's usually this vibe. We're usually encouraged, directly or indirectly, not to panic, not to overgeneralize, and to treat each incident as another one-off, an anomaly, something unfortunate, but not necessarily connected to anything larger. But we absolutely should panic, actually, because there is a pattern. And it is now so obvious that continuing to deny it amounts to gaslighting the public. The
And this is where I gotta stop the shit, man. Now I tried to look up the numbers to confirm what she said about it being about 20 to 25% extremism in Islam. And all I could find, which maybe is where she's getting her number from, is that in 2017, the Pew Research Center survey found that 71% of American Muslims are at least somewhat concerned about extremism in some form of fashion. In predominantly Muslim countries, the concern is also high, with 78% of Palestinians, 73% of Muslims in Lebanon, 64% of Muslims in Egypt expressing worry about extremism in their country. Let's see. Extremism actions by a small fraction. Actual involvement in violent extremism is limited to a minute fraction of the overall population. For instance, an estimated regarded UK citizens traveling to conflict zones equated to approximately 0.02.8% of the UK Muslim population. So that's even less than 1%. But the fact that they're you know what I'm saying, they're saying there's 1.2 billion Muslims and that 25% of them are extremists, it instantly it paints this big number that might not necessarily be real. Now, on the flip hand side, if you were to say, hey, well, Christians are extreme, and I can say that because these attackers here, you name out whoever, you know what I'm saying, that claim to be Christian, when they set an attack out on somebody, you know what I'm saying? Hell, we can go all the way back to the KKK, right? They was supposed to be a Christian organization. Well, those are not all Christians. Come on, man, they're not even real Christians. Is what the whole thing is going to be said. No, they're not even real Christians. So I just find it hypocritical, just on the religion aspect, is that we don't hold Christians accountable for the extremism in Christianity, but we'll hold all of Islam accountable for the extremism in Islam. It's a double standard that needs to be fixed, man. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be fixed, and we're gonna go further into it, man. But for right now, we're gonna let her continue, though.
attacks are not random. They are not disconnected. They are not inexplicable. We know why they are happening. The root cause is ideological, and overwhelmingly, that ideology is Islamism. This is not a claim about all Muslims as a group, and I'll come back to this in a little bit. But this is a claim about a belief system that repeatedly motivates violence in Western societies, regardless of how tolerant, wealthy, or peaceful those societies are.
And I just want us to remember this, what she's saying right now, that it's ideological based, and because her perceived notion of what the ideology of Islam is, that it promotes violence. That's pretty much what her claim is. If we want to, we're gonna rewind it back just so we can hear her say it again. Hold on, right quick.
System that repeatedly motivates violence in Western societies, regardless.
It motivates violence in Western societies. That's what she's saying. Islam. We're gonna rewind it back a little bit more so she can say the exact part.
The attacks are not random. They are not disconnected. They are not inexplicable. We know why they are happening. The root cause is ideological, and overwhelmingly, that ideology is Islamism. This is not a claim about all Muslims as a group, and I'll come back to this in a little bit. But this is a claim about a belief system that repeatedly motivates violence in Western societies, regardless of how tolerant, wealthy, or peaceful those societies are.
All right. We're hearing it clear from her. This is what she believes. She believes that Islamic ideology promotes violence in the Western world. And honestly, I'm not going to necessarily say I disagree with her or agree with her at this point, because whether I agree with her or disagree with her is not the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is that this same argument can be made about Christians. It can be made about white people. It can be made about the Republican Party. And when it's made about this Republican Party, because she's going to tell you pretty much that she's in favor of the right wing without saying she's in favor of the right wing once she continues talking, as we're going to continue, bro. And my point that I'm making is that they always throw off this nah, it ain't all of us, or white people when it comes to being criticized about any kind of racism, slavery, or whatever. We never owned any slaves. We never oppressed any black people. We never did anything racist, right? So, in my humble opinion, I believe that in order for us to actually reconcile these differences, we got to point out that, hey, man, it's hypocrisy, because when you want to ignore the fact that most Muslims are peaceful, and the attacks that are happening by the actual extremist attacks that are happening by these Muslims is literally less than 1% of the overall population. Even if let's just say that's a 20% or a bigger percentage that actually do hold the views of, hey, you know what, maybe we should be a little bit more extreme and hostile toward the Western world. And there we can actually go back in history and find some legit reasons behind these things as well. But I'm not going to even go into all that. I'm just going to keep it where it's at and just say that, you know what I'm saying, there's still only a small percentage, a very, very, very small percentage of Muslims that are actually committing these attacks. Regardless of, like, the truth is the truth. Regardless if we want to sit there and say, hey, man, you know what I'm saying, there was a small percentage of people that literally own slaves, right? It was a very small, that's an argument that's been made right now. Wasn't that many black white people owning slaves? Why are we attacking all the white people for that? Because it takes a compliance from the whole group in order for that to continue to be a thing for centuries. Like, if the majority of people were against slavery, that wouldn't last. It wouldn't last a decade, let alone a century. Wouldn't maybe even last a year. If literally people were intolerant of harming people and enslaving people, man. So we got to think about this, and the fact that she's literally sitting here saying, well, they are promoting violence against the Western world. No, in reality, they're just voicing their distrust. They're vocalizing and expressing their disdain for the Western world, because the Western world is always getting in their affairs and then telling them pretty much how they should move, pretty much everything. They're trying to dictate how they live. Meanwhile, there's no way to really dictate how the Western world lives for the most part, because they have the power. They've been having the power. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just hypocritical, bro, on all aspects. And it's crazy how the least of us can define every minority culture, every other culture that's not the predominant religion or whatever. But when it comes to white people, Christianity, all these things, and I'm like this is coming from a nigga. I'm trying my best to get back in the church. I'm trying my best to live in the way of Christ. But at the same time, man, I'm not gonna sit here and deny how people use this shit, man. We all fall short of the grace of God, man. Let's stop playing, no. Let's stop playing on her.
I was looking at official terrorism data recently, and it bears this out, despite all the effort to pretend otherwise. According to Europol, which is the law enforcement agency of the EU, a total of 58 terrorist attacks were recorded across Europe in the most recent reporting period. 34 were completed, 5 failed, and 19 foiled across 14 member states. Of these, 24 were attributed to jihadist terrorism, making it the largest single category. The second largest category was actually left-wing terrorism with 21 attacks. We are repeatedly told that right-wing terrorism.
And this is where she goes on her tangent about how right-wing terrorism is not as prominent or as relevant as left-wing terrorism, which I can't speak for the EU. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty liberal. So I don't know. I could see maybe it not being as prominent because it will maybe be the more liberal-minded people that are trying to preserve and conserve their institutions. So maybe they'll be the ones more quickly to attack when they see conservatives having shifts in winning certain shit. You know what I'm saying? They'll start attacking and rioting and shit like that. I could see that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna necessarily argue with her on that point, but the point is that she's instantly showing that I lean to a certain side because, look at this. Even though this is 1 year's worth of data, if we go back 10 years, I can pretty much assume in most of the world that it's usually been right-wing extremism. But then again, we're trying to redefine who's right-wing and who's left-wing because now all of a sudden the Nazis are left-wing and a lot of other shit that I've been hearing lately, bro. Like, so when you have to redefine these terms, even though we've universally, you know what I'm saying, pretty much agreed upon certain things, all of a sudden people want to redefine these things because it makes a certain group of people look bad. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, we don't mind just keeping things the way they are and not trying to redefine shit or leaving shit the way it is when it comes to black people or any other minority group. If they're looked at a certain way and they talk about, hey man, let's redefine the way we using these numbers because it's a clear discrimination tactic being used with this shit. Oh, fuck that. What's wrong with that? The truth is the truth. But as soon as we can start pointing out some shit about the majority or these other groups, whoa, come on now. It's not all of us. We're good people. But black people aren't. But Muslims aren't. All right, man. And I know she's saying clearly, I'm not trying to say all Muslims, but you're saying that we can't use the argument not all Muslims because, you know what I'm saying, it's taken away from the fact that this is happening at a prominent level or this is happening at a very frequent level or whatever. And I say, well, we can say the same about Christian white nationalist violence. We can say the same about, you know what I'm saying, Christian extremism or white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? We could talk about the same with right-wing violence. But again, we're gonna ignore these things because a lot of times it doesn't show up in the shape of a January 6th riot. It doesn't show up in the form of white boy going to shoot up a church or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's just some hateful rhetoric online. And because it's only rhetoric, we're going to pretend like it isn't harmful. Okay.
terrorism and extremism represents an existential terror threat on the same scale as Islamist terror. But we don't need stats or data to know that this is simply not true. And Australia has now, unfortunately, become the latest reminder of this reality. So as you all know,
Now the thing is, because Islamic terrorism is religious based, and religious extremism tends to fall on the right side of the political spectrum. Usually that's included with right wing extremism. So the fact that they're being separated is already a telling sign. It's already telling right there. Like, what's going on here is not right wing extremism and Islamic extremism. That's all the same. That's not, it's all the same thing, but it's a part of the same umbrella of extremism. Right wing extremism is usually you could say anti-government, uh some kind of xenophobic or ethnic race or racial based discriminatory type shit, sexist, you know what I'm saying, religious based. The left wing can also be anti-government, but they're usually more anarchical, whereas right wing extremism is usually more authoritarian, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know, man. So it just, I mean, it's the motivations behind the shit that's the key. You know what I'm saying? And left wing, you know what I'm saying, like I say, is usually, you know what I'm saying, in opposition to something that's more conservative based, that's been, you know what I'm saying, passed or whatever. It's more uh you know, whatever, free not, I don't necessarily know if it's free markets that, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be free markets at some point, but I'm just it's other shit that people, you know what I'm saying, usually are protesting, probably like immigration or some shit like that in a lot of these countries, or the police, you know what I'm saying, policing and shit like that. Maybe censorship policies and stuff like that. So like I say, the left wing motivation and the right wing motivation is usually different, and religious usually is aligned with more right wing ideology. So the fact that she's trying to separate Islamic extremism from the right wing extremism is just crazy to me, man. Because you wouldn't separate Marx and Marxism from the left wing at all, right? You wouldn't. I mean, technically, we're in America calling all liberals Marxists just because they have a little bit of social policy and shit like that in they talking points and shit like that, bro. So it's just weird to me. Let's go though. We're gonna continue.
on 14th of December, a mass shooter attack took place at the Hanukkah celebration in Archer Park near Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. The event was a public Jewish community gathering with hundreds of people attending. Two men, a father, 50, and his adult son, who was 24, opened fire on the crowd. They used multiple firearms and fired dozens of rounds in what quickly became Australia's deadliest mass shooting in nearly 30 years. And one of
And RP to those people, man. That's a tragedy, and this because of shit like, you know, what's happening in Israel with Gaza doesn't mean that we sit here and ignore the fact that Jewish people have always been under attack, because white supremacy holds that they are being held back by this group. That this group is in control of everything. It's always been in control of everything. And when black people believe in that shit, then we turn around and are really persecuted for the shit that we didn't even create. Like we don't create anti-Semitism, man. Cause to us, man, you know what I'm saying, if they lighter than us, then we always looked at them all as white. We're not being like the Jewish God and the German God, they're different and all that. Like we ain't differentiating, man, you know what I'm saying? Especially here in America, because everything is based off race in America. Regardless of what they'll tell you, it's all based off how you look. It's all about, you know what I'm saying, complexion. I don't know about what's happening in the European countries and shit, because obviously she's over there. You know what I'm saying? She's giving out their stats and whatnot. But again, I definitely believe that her statistics with man, I'm just gonna look up some shit real quick, man. I just gotta see. It's gonna be hard to even ask this question because automatically, uh, whatever sources are gonna link Islamic extremism with right wing extremism. I don't know if they're gonna separate it. They might. And if they do, then that tells you that it's systematic why they're doing it. But if we just accounted for right wing extremism inside of just a right wing extremism umbrella, I wonder how much of right wing extremism is Islamic extremism. That would be a better question, I guess, to ask. Maybe I should look for that. But right now, yeah, right wing extremism and Islamic extremism both seem to be kind of separated, even though I can see sources that are linking them both together. You know what I'm saying? I can see some firm arguments already being had, and we finna see what's happening, man. It's about my time to go see what's happening with fam, man, on this other side. So I might have to dip. And I hate to do that so early, man, because we really getting into something right here, man. And like I say, I'm not a proponent of Islam or none of that shit like that, bro. I'm really just a nigga that's, you know what I'm saying, got an argument about why people tend to want to hold this argument for Islam, but then turn around and not hold the same argument for right wing extremism of all kind, especially this domestic white terrorism that we having happening right here in America, bro, all the time. Like, it never fails, bro. And when that shit happens, it's a lone wolf. It's a one off. No matter the patterns, no matter none of that shit, bro. So you gotta tell me, bro, is it real, bro, or not, bro? What's real about this shit, man? Like, for real. What's real about this shit, dog? Why do the Muslims gotta catch the slack? Why they gotta catch the bullshit? They catching all the strays. What they do to deserve that shit? Shit, we gonna act like right wing extremism and Islamic extremism can really be separated. It's a lot of comparisons there. You know what I'm saying? They both reactionary. You know what I'm saying? They both, you know what I'm saying, use violence to achieve their goals. Uh, the motivations might be different, but you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, where like right wing extremism could be, you know what I'm saying, centered around ethnic or racial, you know what I'm saying, nationalism and supremacy and all that shit and all that, bro. Uh, Islamic is just it's got ethnical, you know what I'm saying? It probably has some ethnicities that believe in a certain type of Islam versus another ethnicity that believes in another certain type of Islam. But it's mostly Islam. It's all centered around the religion more than anything. So yeah, man. So you know what I'm saying? Then then the whole thing with Sharia law, as far as with the Islamic terrorism and shit versus, I guess, whatever the regular version of Islam is. I don't know how that all works. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I don't know. I mean, I know somewhat of what Islam is, but I don't know the extremes of what Islam is, man. Like, or the full context of all the regular shit. I understand some shit that it kind of deterred me from Islam as far as like me being like, all right, I should, you know what I'm saying, follow that shit. Nah. But let me go and let her finish up so I can go, 'cause I gotta get ready to go.
The worst terror attack incidents in the country's history. The attack was treated by authorities and major outlets as an act of terrorism linked to the Islamic State ideology. Yet I didn't really see this moment being used to confront Islamist ideology directly, head on. The response quickly shifted to tackling gun control and vague appeals to community cohesion. And the gun control one is actually so stupid because terrorists will use anything to inflict terror. Honestly, these politicians are so bad at reading the room. And then, like clockwork, I started seeing the not all Muslims talking point on social media. Don't allow this to make you think negatively about Islam itself. Why are we more comfortable reassuring ourselves about peaceful majorities than confronting the ideology that keeps getting people killed? With all due respect, the peaceful majority argument is failing. The peaceful majority line is failing. That's just the reality. Islamist ideology keeps producing violence, yet we're told again and again that most Muslims are peaceful, as if that settles the matter. It doesn't. It doesn't stop attacks. It doesn't make people feel safer. That doesn't mean that most Muslims are violent. Of course not. I know and respect many Muslim voices, but that isn't the point. The point is that repeating that most Muslims are peaceful is actually irrelevant to the actual threat of radical Islamism itself. The threat of radical Islam has to be neutralized, and it will not be neutralized simply because most Muslims live quietly. That is the core issue Western societies refuse to face. Hiding behind the language of most Muslims are peaceful doesn't even protect Muslims who live under repression and illiberal rule in many Muslim.
I can say, man, I'm gonna end up just finishing this word right here. She's talking from a lens of being in a somewhere in the EU, one of those European countries. So maybe Islamic terror is more prominent than right-wing terror, even though I still don't feel like those two should be disconnected from each other, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know. Even like I said, I know right-wing terror, right-wing terrorism is just really pretty much linked to fucking fascists and white supremacists and Nazis and shit like that, bro. Like but religious extremism, to me, I would assume that's on the right wing as well. I don't think you can consider that left wing, man. I don't have the most scholarly interpretation of every damn thing. Like, I'm not the smartest guy out there in the world, so I mean, I'm definitely open to an argument on why it should be separated. But it's funny to me, man. And the fact that not all should not be an argument. Well, why don't we keep that argument for all these motherfucking all these extremist people out here, bro? Every extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like, when the extremists in the Christian community do something and they start judging Christians, everybody shut the fuck up. When the white people are doing something extreme and they start judging white people, shut the fuck up. Just like black people have to sit here and just take, like, man, black fatigue, bro. It's black fatigue. Rappers gotta take rap fatigue. Everything that revolves around blackness, it has to be some type of, hey man, shut the fuck up because look at the facts. You know what I'm saying? So let's all do the same thing, man. Because all these things are very prominent. I don't care if, you know what I'm saying, one is less prominent than another thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you address what's relevant in your community, and I'm gonna address what's relevant in mine. But to sit here and try to diminish one over the other, I don't think that's conducive to solutions, man, being had. So I'm gonna leave it at that, man. I wish I could have finished her video. I was planning on going an hour, but fam done He done raised back up the time on me, man. I thought he was just gonna start at 10:50. Instead, he's starting at 10:35. So we finna get it in, man. Y'all come fuck with us on the grown man talking, man. You know what I'm saying? Trigger man telling TV. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go subscribe over there, fuck with that, man. But yeah, man, your boy is out of here, man. Y'all be blessed. Again, black people and other minorities and other groups, Muslims, all that shit should not be defined by the least of us, man. And the only people that seem to not have to face that is these groups like, you know what I'm saying, Western culture in general does not have to face these type of limitations when it comes to talking about their relationship to the rest of the world. It's not all you motherfuckers are fucking up everything. And when we've had those arguments, it's deemed as racist and all that shit like that, even though y'all can sit there and say that about us in so many words, and we got to sit here and just take it now. That's wild to me. It's time that we change the